Indiana football traveling to College Park to take on the Terrapins of
Yes.
Maryland. And speaking of quarterbacks, Talia Tungavailoa, he's having a good year. Maryland is a team that can strike like a snake. They're not like Washington; they're not nonstop, but they have those snake-like bam where they can just hit you. Tungavailoa is super good. He's thrown for over 1,100 yards. He's completing 64% of his passes for an average of 8 yards a catch. His quarterback rating of 148. That ain't bad. 87 of 135. So, and then, but it's not just that. Their rushing game. They've got
Roman Hemby is a player, man.
Five guys that have rushed for touchdowns.
Really good.
He's right. He's ran for 255 yards on the season. He averages 5 yards a carry with 50 attempts. They've got Kobe McDonald, who is only half those attempts at 26, but he's averaging almost 8 yards a carry, and he has 204 yards rushing. They have two guys with over 200 yards rushing. You look over at Indiana, and they have two guys with over 100 yards rushing. And unfortunately, one of those, the leader, is Jalen Lucas, who is also the second leading receiver. That's not a good sign to me. I mean, it's great for Jalen, but that just tells me that's your entire offense. I mean, if Jalen is it, and I get he's a special athlete, but you can't overuse him. And he has the most receptions of anybody on the team, of all the receivers. He has more than Cam Camper, and he has twice as many carries as the next running back.
The offense right now is find Jalen Lucas or throw over the top to Cam Camper. I should say, find
except
Jalen
for
Lucas
if you're in overtime and he goes in motion.
And he's
when
wide
he goes
open
in motion,
on the right
he's
side.
wide open by himself. Yes.
But no, like
that blew my mind.
Oh God. And the explanation of it was like Jackson's explanation of it made sense from Jackson's perspective. It doesn't make sense from Walt Bell's perspective. It was an absolute indictment of Walt Bell. That's not my read.
And I'm tired of being negative about India. I really don't. That's not my goal. I don't want to be. I'd love to see them win. I'm not a fan. I don't look at it as a fan. But the teams you cover, you want to see them win because it's more fun for everybody. The fans are more excited. It's just better. And so I'd love to see them win for that reason. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and lie and spew baloney. This is not a fan podcast. It's a real radio show. And so we have to be journalists and tell you and say what it is. And my opinion is he's not good. He's just not good. The calls that I've seen him call in the red zone, Indiana is just awful in the red zone. The two best plays I have seen were the last two plays they ran in overtime against Akron, which I'm like, oh, that was pretty cool, except for one of them was where Jalen Lucas was wide open. But then the other one, I'm like, oh, those are nice plays. Where was that during the Louisville game? Because both of them would have won that game for Indiana. Yeah. The decision-making is just mind-boggling at times, really mind-boggling. And it's starting to add up over the years.
Running Donovan McCulley into the line twice on in a goal line situation back-to-back is, oh, boy, that's bad. It's and, like, I understand. Look, the fan base and a lot of reporters said after the Louisville game, hey, try something different in a goal line situation instead of running power with your running back. Okay, fine. Well, let's run with Donovan McCulley. I get trying that on 3rd and 1. I do. That was a decent, like, hey, he's a quarterback who can move, former quarterback who can move, I should say. Get him the ball, let him try to make a play. I get that. Running the same thing again on 4th and 1, I don't know about that. And then he came out on Monday and said that Indiana is a run-first offense. They can't run block. Their offensive line is better than it was last year, but it's not good.
I don't
and
listen
they're averaging
to anything
3 yards a carry.
the staff says anymore.
I don't think
they tell the truth.
That.
I don't think they tell the truth. I think that they say what they want people to hear or whatever, because I don't think that there's honesty anymore. I think that they know that, well, how could you not know? But they know things are not going well. And it's just the honesty is not there. Now that's not just a lot of places are like that. There's certain things they don't want you to know, and I get that. You don't want to let everything out, but at a certain point, you just got to be self-reflective and say, "Hey, yeah, this is whatever." Tom Allen's got to be. I promise you, and I'm not saying he's Nick Saban, but if Nick Saban's offensive coordinator was just tanking it, I guarantee you he would not hesitate to stand up at the podium and say, well, our offense is just garbage and we're not getting it done. And there's going to have to be some changes made and blah, blah, blah. We don't get that. We get
he's up to a point, right? Basically, Tom Allen has come out and said that the production is not where it needs to be.
Of course you can say that,
right?
But I mean, you've got to go farther than that. You have to be honest. The job is not getting done.
No, and it's especially in those goal line situations where so much of it is about the play call because your offensive line is not getting it done, right? And so I don't know. The thing is that that offensive staff has done a good job of assembling talent on that side of the ball. It's a talented offense. There are talented players on that offense. They're just not. I don't have a lot of faith in that offensive staff to deploy them in a way that is most advantageous. Not at least in my opinion. Maybe they are figuring out what they have and they'll get better as the season goes on. I'm sure they'll get better as the season goes on. How can they not? But there is talent on that offense. Don't let anyone tell you that, they don't have the players, because they do. Now, in the offensive line, there are some holes there. There are some guys in that offensive line that are not performing and didn't perform last year. And they're better, but they're still not good. And losing Josh Henderson hurts, obviously. It's unclear whether he's going to play this week, but it seems like he's not.
I do not expect to see him until the Michigan game.
Okay.
Indiana has a bye week next week. They're going into a game which they're not going to acknowledge, but I think that they get – well, they're definitely going – I will pick them to lose this game. Let's just say that. Either way, the bye week follows that, and I think it would not be smart. I'm sure Josh Henderson wants to play. I think that he will not to give him that extra time to heal with the bye week following and then a trip to Michigan, which will be brutal. It would be, I don't think it would be smart to put him to play him in this game, personally. But that's my take on that.
And I think Christian Turner gives you a lot of what Josh Henderson provides, right? I think Christian Turner is a competent kind of power-ish back.
Yeah, he had a good showing last week.
He did, absolutely he did. And so they can get by with the combination of Turner and Lucas. It's not as ideal as having the three of them to kind of combine together, but you can get by with Turner and Lucas, I think. I do wonder whether they're going to come out and play a better game this week. I would like to think that they come out and kind of.
Can they play much worse?
They can't play worse. To be clear, they can't play worse. I think Indiana is closer. Now, let's put it this way. Indiana is closer to the team we saw against Louisville, which is a pretty good team. Pretty good. Than it was.
The second half, they were awesome.
They were awesome. I think Indiana is closer to that team than it is to the team we saw against Akron. The problem is
talent-wise, I agree. Keep saying they're talent-wise, they're a 7-win team.
And I think that they're going to be up for this game against Maryland. The problem is you can't be down for games when you're Indiana. You can't not be up for games when you're Indiana. And Tom Allen's whole thing, the thing that he built his program on, he is the motivational guy. He is the guy that is going to get you up for games. And it is year 7, and he can't get them up for a game with Akron.
I don't see, but I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that they weren't up for the game because you're 1-2. You're 1-2. You can't overlook. There is nobody on your schedule you can overlook.
There's a difference between saying you can't overlook them and actually not overlook. Tom Allen straight up said they overlooked them. He said.
But I'm not buying that. I don't buy that. I
don't think Akron is good enough that Akron can play with IU the way they did with IU, not kind of just.
Well, but you saw them play. They played hard against Kentucky.
They played hard against Kentucky. They did. But they came into that game averaging 1.6 yards per carry, and they gained 6.6 yards per carry against IU. I don't think that IU's run defense in a vacuum is that bad. I think we've seen it be pretty
most
good.
Of that came from the quarterback.
It came from the quarterback. That's true. But, I mean, they also did have a 71-yard run straight through the right side of the line with a poor run fit. Like, that's it seemed like they just didn't come prepared for that game. And I mean, there were things that went against them, but they got outgained by 200 yards in that game. That was not a fluke that Akron was in that game. So you would like to think that they are going to go out and give a huge performance against Maryland. Maybe they don't win because Maryland is more talented, but I don't think Maryland's that much more talented. Indiana played with those guys last year. They have got to play Maryland like Akron played Indiana. I think so. And I don't think that's out of the question either. Like I will have the same criticisms of Tom Allen, even if they go out and play well against Maryland, because it's the same issue is that you're getting up for some games and not others. That's still a problem. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility they go out and play very, very well against Maryland.
I've said it 1,000 times. I love Tom Allen. What a great, great guy and a hard worker. And he's not going anywhere.
No,
he will be here all next year. The only thing they can do is replace Walt Bell. And I don't know that happens. We'll see. But